Hi there and welcome to Kitchen Chaos. Today I'm going to show you how to make butter. Now this isn't something that I make all the time, but at the moment I've got some leftover cream, about 500 grams worth. So we're going to turn it into butter rather than it going to waste. So the date on this cream is today, so it should split quite quickly. The process is very, very simple. You want to get your butterfly whisk and pop it into your machine and then pour your cream in. Now I tend to pour as much as I can and then I will actually sit it on top of the whisk for a few minutes to just let it drain. Now while that's happening, I'll usually get out my other equipment. So you're going to want your simmering basket. You're going to want a bowl to drain your buttermilk into, and you're going to want a spatula. Now you do have a choice here. It's really up to you on your preference. The TM6 spatula does have substantially more flexibility than the TM5 spatula, and I've got one of these floating around. I like it specifically for this because I find I get a lot better pressure when pressing the buttermilk out of my butter with a solid, hard, inflexible spatula. So that's something to keep in mind. It is your preference, but that's mine. Now cream that is close to turning is going to split more readily. It will be a much quicker process, whilst very fresh cream could take substantially longer. So pop on our lid with our measuring cup, and we're going to turn this to speed 4. Now, if you're following the recipe, it says for 1 minute. What you really need to look for is the sound. I'm hoping that the camera will pick up the sound, because you'll hear it change from a slosh to more of a clunk. Okay, so I didn't hear it change, but I'm going to show you what this is looking like. So right now we have whipped cream. Now this needs to keep going. This is one of the reasons why so many people accidentally make butter in their Thermomix, because the whipped cream recipe does not have a time on it. It's just you need to monitor to the thickness that you desire, whereas the butter has this 1 minute timer to give you an estimate. But obviously 1 minute in this case is not long enough. So I'm not going to set a time this time. I'm just going to turn it up to speed 4 and listen. Okay, I'm not sure if you could hear that. And you may have been able to see the Thermomix started to jerk around slightly. So inside you can see two very distinct textures. So one is our butter, the butter fat has separated and gone kind of chunky, and the other is a liquid, which is our buttermilk. Now you want to take out your whisk, pop it aside somewhere. I tend to just sit it on top of my lid, which is upside down on the bench with the measuring cup in so that it doesn't leak all over the bench. And then I pop my basket in. Now the reason for this is around the very front here, there's actually all these little slots, cutouts, and this is like a pouring system. So I actually learned about this making orange juice, but this has been really handy for lots of things where I'm trying to get the liquids but not the solids. Things like gravy, it's fantastic for. But again, for butter, I find this really helpful because I can actually pour the buttermilk out whilst not losing any of the butter fat. Now obviously there's still going to be a whole lot of buttermilk in this butter solids. So what we want to do now, this is where your spatula comes in handy. You want to grab your spatula, collect some and press it against the side, and you can literally see the buttermilk run out. And you want to do this until you've pretty much got nothing coming back out, and just continue to pour the buttermilk out until you're happy that you have gotten it all. Now this can be quite a lengthy process. It does depend on how patient you can be. I'm often not as patient as I should be. But we are also going to wash this. You can wash it more than once to get a better result. The interesting thing about this is that it's actually the buttermilk that goes sour, not the butter fat. So the more buttermilk you get out of your butter, the longer shelf life your butter will have. Now, because this was so close to date, this isn't an issue for me because it's going to go into the freezer, and I'm not concerned if there's a little bit of buttermilk left in it because I'm going to use it predominantly for baking and making things like pastry. So if I was going to use this fresh, I would be much more vigilant about how much buttermilk I pressed out. And I would also store this in my butter belt. Now the butter belt is available on the Mix shop. I'll show you what it looks like. This is it here. It does come in a grey as well. So basically you take this part out, you fill this bit up with your butter, just press it in. It will sort of compact down and get quite firm. You want to do this while your butter is soft and malleable because it will go quite hard once it's set. And once you've done that, you put a little bit of water in the bottom of this and you just sit it upside down like that. Now the idea here is that the water creates a seal on the surface of your butter, and it stops any bacteria or anything from growing, and so it keeps your butter fresh. It also means that you can store it on your bench where it won't go as hard, so it remains spreadable. So it's a really neat thing if you want to make your own butter on a regular basis. If you have access to cheap cream, then that's fantastic. I personally, I very rarely see cream on special or on sale. So it's not something that I have focused on. I really only bother to make butter when I have run out of spreadable butter in my fridge, or when I have cream that's about to go bad. So I'm not a butter expert, but I have played around and made a substantial number of different butters. Whilst your butter is soft and malleable like this, it's also another great time to add any flavours that you would like to, and add some salts and things. Now obviously you want to wash it first, so we're going to do that step. And that's as simple as putting your whisk back in, making sure all of your butter solids, so butter solids. Now you can see I've still got some buttermilk sitting in and on it. It's kind of weeping out. As I said, I'm not overly concerned because this is going to go into the freezer and be used for baking. So a little bit of buttermilk is not going to hurt that. All right. So whisk in, butter in. Sorry, no whisk. I misread. So butter in, and we're going to add 500 grams of chilled water. Now mine's straight from the tap. I've never had an issue with it being sort of room temperature, but you can of course add yours to the fridge to get it really chilled beforehand. I went a little bit over. I'm going to use the rest to rinse off the excess buttermilk from the lid. Pop the lid on. Now I want to show you really quickly before I add to this, your buttermilk. This is literally like what you buy from the supermarket. So if you want to use pure buttermilk, this is the stuff to use. The liquid that we're going to get out of here is a combination of buttermilk and water. You can still use it in your baking and like you would buttermilk, but understand that it is thinner because it is not pure buttermilk. Okay, so we've got our butter and we've got our water in here. We put our lid and measuring cup on, and now we're going to go for 5 seconds, speed 4. Okay, and it really doesn't sound like a very long time. However, you can see that our water has definitely gotten murky with the buttermilk, and our butter is looking far more yellow. So as I did last time, I'm going to pop my simmering basket in, and I'm going to pour through that way. And that's, again, just going to keep my butter solids in the jug whilst the water and buttermilk comes out. I am also holding the simmering basket so it doesn't fall out on me. I think it's stuck with the butter, but I always hang on to it just in case. Yep. So there we have it, butter. So I'll show you how you pop it in here, and then I'll pop it into the freezer after. So just scoop out your butter. You can press this again if you want to. You can also roll it in baking paper or Glad wrap to put it into a roll, which is what I will do after. But if you're wanting to fill a butter bell, literally just push it out with your spatula straight in. You can collect more solids and just continue to press them in. Scrape off around the rim and press them in. And you can see there's a little bit of water still coming out because I am pressing quite firmly. Did you see that one squirt? Now this is actually slightly more than the butter bell can take. So I'm just running my spatula across the top to level it out so I don't have chunks that will stick to the bottom. And you can see, nice and firm and doesn't fall out. So that is right to leave on your bench and use. As I said, because my cream was close to date, I will not be doing that with this batch. But that is how you load your butter bell. and how you make butter. I hope that you enjoyed this. You can see substantially more diluted buttermilk, but still perfectly good to use. Great for some scones or some buttermilk bread. All right, guys, I'm going to catch you next time. Have a great day.